My name is Trace Wilkins. I actually tab out of the Mid-Cities office with Celeste Nambo as the manager, and I just finished my field training.
Nice. So let me ask you, what were some things you did before your field training to really kind of help prepare you to get the most out of it?
So before my field training was actually set, we had the events training. And it's super nerve-wracking because you're in there in a room with a lot of people that are really high in sales and the event's legends. So it's definitely intimidating, but what I did to kind of make that a little bit more at ease so I could focus during my field training was I did exactly what was told to me in events training. I went over my scripts. I actually wrote out both my scripts 10 times each for the new customer and the ultimate upgrade approach, just so I kind of knew what the lines were. That way, when I was in field training, instead of being like, well, I don't know my scripts, it allowed me to actually listen to what people who are training me, which so happened to be you and Kelly and Calvin, it actually allowed me to listen to what you guys said, how y'all phrase things a little bit differently, and also how y'all handled the objection cycle. Because unlike the manual, the event scripts doesn't have the objection cycle right there. So it's definitely, I think it was key for me, especially in my first show, to see how the legends actually handled that objection cycle and some of the key phrases they were using while still following line for line what that script is. So it definitely freed me up to listen a lot more attentively during the field training.
I got a chance to see your all the scripts you had written out how many times. I immediately knew you were someone that we were gonna be having to watch out for. You were coming to do some damage. And I love your takeaway that allowed you to focus not just on like the script itself or the words, but the delivery, the objection cycle, the customer interactions, because that's some of the stuff that's hard to teach. You just kind of have to see it to pick up.
So field training, there was two things that were very surprising, and they were actually contradictory. I had that same assumption. You know, people just walk up, they already know everything about us, and they just want to throw down on a SIG or a kitchen. And that's just not how it happens. I mean, it was really surprising to see how quick you have to be on your feet and how quick people can just walk away. So that was definitely a huge surprise. And then the other big surprise was when I was a new rep coming in, we would see all the posts from the events team and everything, and these guys were just killing it. So you were assuming that people are like, they're always talking to people. There's not any downtime in the booth. But in field training, I learned that there is some time in the booth when it's slow, like when the show first starts or when it's starting to wrap up and come to an end, it gets downtime. And it taught me that people really come in waves. You'll have like a wave of consistent customers for 2 or 3 hours, and then it dies down. And what that taught me in field training is what you do with that die down time is very important, because, I mean, I've watched, I wouldn't say in field training I saw someone slip into a bad headspace, but I watched myself just kind of go from being focused and on point to daydreaming and zoning out, which put me in a different headspace in a learning sense. So it really taught me, you know, what I do with my free time in the booth whenever it's downtime really affects my headspace and where I'm at. So whenever that next person walks up, or I'm not there to actually attentively listen to what's going on.
I love that. By the way, I think that's such a great point that all of us kind of have to sort of come to that on our own. But, you know, it's the law of attraction, kind of what you give out, you're going to get back. And it is easy when things get slow. It's like even a day in the office, some days just kind of drag. And then when you do have that opportunity to impact someone on a PDI call, run a great interview, it's hard to just like flip right back into being your best. So it's important to kind of be able to kind of catch yourself at that point. I love seeing that. Well, then let me ask you, since you finished your field training, so what have your results been like with either outside the booth or even with your first show that you've done so far?
So since I finished field training, I know when I was a new rep coming in, just learning the basics, I finished training there and I just kind of got lazy. I still got results, but not results as good as I could have gotten. And with me going into pretty much uncharted territories, being the booth, after my field training, I had another week or two before my first show. So instead of allowing me to do that, I asked, you know, what do I need to learn, which was the individual prices and just objections, and really learning those key phrases. So whenever someone says something, I'm just not like, I don't know. Hey, how much is this trimmer? Because it just looks unprofessional in my eyes. So I use that downtime to beef up my knowledge, to re-go over some of my booth scripts as well as some of my own product knowledge, so I knew I was on point. And then that really helped me in my first show because I had that script down. Whenever the first customer came out, I had the jitters, but I still knew the script. And then it also helped me because of my first show. I actually had a lot of people ask, how much is this one individual knife? And it allowed me to use some of the golden lines that I learned in field training, like, hey, this knife is $73, but just so you know, Cutco does bundle deals, stuff like that. And it actually allowed me to upsell. And my favorite part of this story is I had a customer come up to me for my first time ever in the booth, and she already had 2 pieces, and she wanted to get one more piece. So then I pitched her on the showstopper, and then it ultimately turned out to be a homemaker +8. So I was like, I couldn't believe it. I was like, wow, there was actually a point to all that work and all that effort I put into it and staying in that good headspace. So a lot of the stuff that I learned in the field training and a lot of the stuff I did outside of field training, just by listening to what, the CSPs are saying, to what my trainers are saying, and actually applying that versus just being like, yeah, I got it. It actually really helped impact my results from the first show.
That's awesome, man. Well, hey, my last question for you would be this. What advice do you give other people that have their field trainings coming up? What piece of advice would you give them to just kind of maximize their opportunity with their field trainings?
So I actually have just 2. It would be to definitely go over your scripts, learn them however you learn. If it's writing them out, if it's role-playing them 30 times, really learn your scripts. So that way when you're actually in the booth field training with anybody, it frees you up to listen to them. And when you're there, be attentive, be there. Don't spend that amount of time just sitting on your phone or sitting down. Like, see what you can do to how you can sit there and listen to whoever's pitching and see what you can take away. And definitely take notes. I took 2 full pages worth of notes just from 2 days of field training. That way I could go back over it when I got home to beef up my own intro and pitch and stuff. So definitely be present and in the moment every time someone's at that booth.
I love it. And, the last thing I really want to say just to compliment Trace, the takeaways he had, it's really a reflection on the preparation he put into it. Even little things like making sure he was checking in a day or 2 before with, hey, how should I dress? What do I need to bring with me? We were laughing because he got to the show, like an hour early, which is great. I'd way rather early than late. And we ended up parking right next to him, and we were loading stuff in, and finally he called. He's like, "Where are you guys?" We're like, "Well, we walked right by you, but here, we'll come get you a pass." He is someone, though, that that same preparation that allowed him to make most of his field training, I know is going to allow him to be tremendously successful in the field, and particularly in the booth. So, Trace, thank you so much for sharing the goods. We appreciate the heck out of you, man, and we'll look forward to connecting again very soon.
Not a problem, most definitely.